Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? It's Ricky Ventures and Marlon Madden, and we're back with you for another week of the Success Journey Show. What's going on, everyone? Marlon, how you doing, bro?
Doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Enjoying
Yes,
myself. Sir. Just I'm excited for this person that's coming on today. We've been having a little trend. I met some guys when I went down to Miami for my anniversary. I met some guys. Two guys had a podcast. One guy, he does music and help people in business. And I'm trying to bring him on too. So not trying, just have to set it up. So I'm kind of I'm very interested in what our guest has to say this episode.
Yeah. Really excited about it, man. I'm also excited because tomorrow's the first day of school for me, for my kids, my boys. So yeah, man, got each of them in 3 different schools for the first time. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, 3 different schools. So going to be dropping.
Oh, one is in middle school and one is still in elementary, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so 2 different middle schools and 1 elementary school. So
2 different middle schools? Why is that?
Yeah, Solomon goes private school. Levi goes to public school, middle school, and then Caleb is finishing up elementary.
Oh, okay, elementary. Okay, yeah, you said 2 different
middle schools.
Middle schools. Oh, yeah. So those 2. Okay,
yeah. 2 different middle schools. So, but man, I'm glad you asked me why is that, because my goal is to get them all in the same school.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my goal. I was hesitant about doing that, but man, I'm tired of sitting behind, man, and just like wishing and hoping you could put your kids in some better places and different things, and just for looking at financial barriers and stuff like that. So I forget this, man. I'm putting that the goal, man. All of them in the same school, same education, same exposure, same everything, and just let them rock out, man. So yeah, I got a lot to do on my end, a lot of prayers, just to ask God to help the doors to keep opening, things to keep lining up, and most importantly that I keep walking, and keep walking and doing the work and working harder. So yeah, dude, I'm excited about them getting started, and yeah, man, we'll see what this year brings, man. It's a big year for us, real big year. So your kids have already been in it for a couple of weeks. This is their second week this week, right?
Mm-hmm. Tomorrow he finds out if he made the football team. I didn't put no thing into that. That's all him. He's still doing his winners. Been putting up a lot of shots because he's not playing basketball as frequently as he was before. So we go on base. He just puts up a certain amount of jump shots and work on different things that we've been doing. So and making sure he locks into his school. Scholastically, he needs to just lock in. He sees it. AAU asks you for your transcripts
grades and everything. Yeah, yep.
Good.
So, gotta stay on top of it. Yep.
Yeah. So you gotta stay on top of it.
Oh man, cool. Well, hey guys, man, we're not gonna prolong this intro. We're gonna jump right into the show. Stay tuned. Listen to these announcements next, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show. You can check us out on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Also on our website, thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? We are back. We are back with our favorite segment of the show, where we sit down and walk through the behind-the-scenes journey of someone just like us, right? That has made a phenomenal impact in this world. And today we have none other than Srikant Chellappa. Did I do it right,
yes,
Sri? Did I get the name right?
You did. Thank
you. Good, man. I love it. I have a good streak going, man. If you listen to our past episodes, probably like 2-3 years ago, I had a problem with enunciating the names correctly for everyone. So that's been something I've really been working hard on. So Sri, thank you so much for confirming that for me today. I love it. Well, listen, we're honored to have you on our Success Journey podcast today. And why don't you start off by sharing with our listeners who you are, where you're from, what you're about?
Yeah. I'm just generally a very curious person in life, and I think that's gotten me into a lot of trouble. So the trouble started, I guess, when I first moved to the U.S. From India. So I'm originally from New Delhi, India. I moved here, oh, I don't know, 27, 28 years ago. So I've been here more than half my life at this point. So I've been in America more time I have been in than in India. Um, as a background, I like to pursue my creative journeys in different form and fashion. So I started my life as an engineer. I moved on to in the entrepreneurial journey, done a few startups. I'm running a technology startup right now. Over the years, that curiosity has led me to explore my creative art side, which is focused really a lot around making feature films, documentaries, uh, producing music and making music. And then I also run a recording studio, which is not where I am right now. So yeah, I've done a lot of things in life just to itch my scratch on creativity and see where the life takes me. So I'm currently based in St. Louis, and so that's my journey so far. I'm happy to talk more about it.
Man,
Yeah.
man, oh, I'm happy. I'm happy to talk more about it, man. You're talking a lot of things up our lane, man. Technology, music, startups. All these different
Yep.
things blended into one human being, right? Um, as you talk about your journeys that you coming from India, but you've been in the States for a very very long time now. What was it like coming from just culturally and in terms of opportunity where you currently are? What was the perspective that you had? Going through life, going through education, going into starting career. What was kind of that perspective from family point of view?
Yeah, so when I came to the US, I was 21. I didn't have any family or friends here, so I was pretty much here solo. I landed in
Mm.
Memphis, Tennessee to pursue my graduate studies, which was, I have to tell you, this was before YouTube, before Facebook. So whatever you got was just a little bit from the internet. Internet was really, really new at the time. It was hardly any internet at that point. Email, there was email, but I had to go to my college to check my email. So it was very a different country. Different environment back then, So whatever you read about different places were what you read in books, actually, to be honest. And this is not
Mm.
that long ago. We are talking about 1994, 1995,
Correct.
96, in that time frame. It seems just, yeah, like yesterday, but the world has changed a lot. So anyway, I came to Memphis thinking it's going to be like New York, and it actually wasn't, right? So you come to Memphis and you're like, oh, this is very different than what I saw in the Hollywood movies. I was like looking forward to all the excitement and the
The Big Apple.
skyscrapers and nightlife and
Yeah.
fun, and it was good, in a way that I came to Memphis and it was sleepy. I would wake up. One of the things that really surprised me, to be honest, is people, right? Number of people, just the sheer number of people in India, even 20 plus years ago, and even more so now, the sheer number of people you see everywhere is mind-boggling, right? If you have not been to India, it is a game-changing experience in your head because you never get that many people at the same time. And any place you go, pretty much any town, right? You wake up at 3 o'clock and start walking, you'll run into people at night. And it's always somebody's always working or awake. So one thing that really I was surprised is I was up on Sunday morning going for a walk, and this was like maybe 9 a.m., 10 a.m. or whatever it was. I don't remember, and there was nobody on the street. It
Mm.
was like bizarre. It was like some zombie attack had taken place and killed everybody or something. And so that was really odd for me to not see people. I mean, you would even in a good day, nice 70 degrees day, there would be hardly anybody outside. People drove everywhere. Those all things were new to me. I did not. It was kind of some of those things were new. I grew up speaking English, so language wasn't new. I've read and saw a bunch of movies all my life, so those things were not different. Accents were initially a problem, but I got
Yeah.
used to it. Especially the black accent. That one really took me a little while to learn, especially in Memphis. that was a little bit, but being in Memphis, they also spoke slowly. You know, it was a Southern accent, so it was easier for me to actually understand. Initially, it was a little hard, but I got used to it. So those are some of the new things that really I found surprising. You know, coming to America, especially Memphis.
Why Memphis? Was there opportunity, school opportunity, or why specifically Memphis?
Yeah, University of Memphis gave me a full scholarship, and that was one of the reasons I chose Memphis. Really, pretty much the only reason I chose Memphis. I didn't know much about the city. The university was ranked fairly well for the engineering school I was going to. It was in biomedical engineering. They had a partnership with St. Jude Research Hospital. So it was a really good program that they had, and it was one of the top, I think, 20 or 30 programs in biomedical because it had a partnership with St. Jude, and I was really looking forward to that when I came to Memphis.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting you say that in that field, because I know when I was looking for graduate programs in that engineering space, and this is back in, I want to say, early 2000s, there weren't as many biomedical programs readily available. There was only really a select few schools that really had a reputable program that you can go and study under. So, man, it's hearing that in the 90s, you were going to that biomedical space. That was kind of advanced for that time frame in terms of going into that industry, because it wasn't as big as it is now. Almost every engineering school has some type of biomedical program or entrepreneurial engineering, a whole bunch of stuff they got nowadays. So
yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's interesting that you say biomedical engineering. You went and got your master's in it. Was it your master's, or were you done your PhD? Correct me.
Well, so let me be a little bit more clear, because I did come to school to study biomedical engineering, but I had an entrepreneurial streak in me, and
there we go.
And that led me to switch my major. So what I did is I switched after one semester to international MBA, to the business school. And so I basically gave up a semester and restarted my school a semester later with MBA. So I did that in Memphis instead.
Okay.
How did your parents feel about that? How did your parents feel about that? Because I know,
my parents were, they were fine about it, to be honest, but they didn't know much, to be honest, at that point, what the difference was. They would have preferred me to study PhD and become a professor, because I came from a family of teachers. I think they would have preferred that than me trying to pursue the risky side of business. Yeah.
And back then, entrepreneurs weren't looked at as how they're looked at now. Before, like Ricky said, that was an early start. When somebody said, "Hey, I'm an entrepreneur," they're like, "Oh, you're between jobs, or you're looking for a job, or you're trying to start something." Or it wasn't like, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur. Oh man, we love it, man. Hey, good on you."
So, yeah, thank you. I was not an entrepreneur yet, right? I was in school. I had to study, and then get a job, and so that I'll talk about that in a minute. But it was a journey to be an entrepreneur. It wasn't like right there.
I'm glad you just said that, Sri, because many people need to hear they decide that they want to be entrepreneur as just a decision, and they know nothing of what they're doing. They haven't studied anything. They just went online and just say, "I'm going to start a business, get my EIN number, or pay LegalZoom to start up my company for me. I have this amazing idea." But they're not. I like the honesty. You said, "Hey, I wasn't an entrepreneur yet. I had an entrepreneur spirit, but I wasn't an entrepreneur yet," because you know what it really took to really actually have a business, right? In the sense that business is a result, making money as a result of being in business, right? So as you went through that journey, you switched your major, international MBA, which sounds like a phenomenal experience in that. When you transitioned out of that, what opportunities were available to you as you were now in this business space? And I'm assuming you had in this business space, but you still had that technical background,
yes,
that you had developed to that point.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one of the things that reason I switched to major in business is because I was always good at math. I'm not talking about, when I say math, I'm talking about application of the math, right? So I was investing in the stock market in my high school in India.
Mm.
And back in the day, the way you invest in the stock market is you dial the phone and you call the
Call the
broker
broker. Yep.
after you read the print in the Monday morning newspaper, right? And then you read the print and then you call the broker. And my dad allowed me to do that with his money, right? So that was really great of him because I would read the entire financial section of the Indian equivalent of Wall Street Journal, which was, I think, was called the Economic Times, if I remember right, in India. So I would read that every morning before I went to school. I would get up at 6 and read that, and then I would catch my bus to school. So I always, and so that was always there in me, reading. I understood P ratio. I understood a little bit about that. I didn't know how to necessarily read a P&L statement. But I understood some of the basic ratios and what some of the financial pundits would say and why this company should say good buy versus that company. Anyway, so what I did after I graduated is I tried to focus on finance and international finance. I studied a lot about international trade, foreign exchange, currency trade, all of that. And one of my favorite professors was a currency trader as well, and he did a lot of derivatives trading, and really learned a lot about that from him. Options trading, Black-Scholes model, all of that, right? Which is how you price options and derivatives. So anyway, I tried to get a job in Wall Street, couldn't get a job. Nobody in Wall Street wants to hire somebody from Memphis State, right? they want to hire from NYU and Columbia and Stanford,
they're right there. Yeah.
Harvard. So I could not get a job, to be honest. So I went back into technology and I went to work for FedEx. So that was kind of a disappointment, to be honest. So I went into technology and I started my career at FedEx, working on their R&D division as an analyst. So what I would do is I would do ROI analysis of different investments that they would make and justify why they should invest in this technology and what the ROI of that is, things like that. So I was still kind of doing some financial analysis, but it was more related to investments in technology to improve their productivity and other things that FedEx really cared about.
Mm-hmm. Man. Go ahead, Marlon.
16. This is what I want. This is one thing that I want listeners to hear: that you are in India reading the financial information that you needed to read, took your father's money, called a broker to place your options or buy stocks. Correct?
Stocks, back in stocks, yes.
But stop. So were you profitable in that? Or did your father was like, oh, wow, you're really making some money over here? How did that work out?
The markets back then did not have a lot of volume. In the Bombay Stock Exchange, which is one of the biggest stock exchanges in the world, at that time, or the Delhi Stock Exchange, there was so much information that had to carry over phone to the trading desk that it's ripe for manipulation. You had no idea what your stock got traded for because you wouldn't get a confirmation for hours, sometimes to the next day. So they're going to totally manipulated the market and the pricing for you. So I was, the market's so much more efficient now in India as well. But back in the day, man, you could be taken for a ride totally by the market, by the market makers and the brokers. But I fortunately did make enough money I could buy myself a one-way ticket to America. So that was about the money I think I made in my high school, trading my dad's money, and then the rest of some of the other expenses, my dad paid for and stuff like that too. So I did make enough money. I will say that over the long run, I have lost money. Back when the dot-com boom, the 1999, 2000. I got really cocky and confident. I was at FedEx, and at lunchtime I would do some day trading. Amazon was just new. There were all these different .coms. You put a .com in your company, suddenly was worth billions. And I got excited. I would place a trade before lunch. I would come back after lunch, and I would be up 30-40%, and I would close the deal. And I would be so happy, right, that I made so much money. I'm like a genius, but I'm not. I just got lucky, and I lost a lot of money, to be honest, in some of those trades because I got carried away. I probably no, I don't think I even broke even. I probably lost. When I say a lot of money, it's not a lot of money by today's standard. It was a few $1,000s,
Yeah.
but it was a good lesson for me that I stepped away from the market for a few years at that point, and then got back into it about 15 years ago again.
So are you heavily in the market today?
I am. So about 15 years ago, I got back into it. There are two ways to get back into it, right? You can get back into it by passively investing through index funds and your 401k and whatnot. So I did a lot of that. And then in the last about 15 some years, I actively got into it. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you go through your financial journeys.
Yeah.
I have been broke twice. When I say broke, I was cash poor, heavily in debt from investing in startups, investing in my movie businesses and making a film. That was expensive. And then, I left a decent job, which was paying, good six-figure income to work for a startup. And then I started flipping property. So I got poor again from that. But eventually I was building assets along the way, I didn't lose money from any of those ventures. I actually came out ahead on every one of those ventures for the most part in total. But you go through these cash poor times where you are heavily in debt. I had at one point almost $100,000 in credit card debt because that's the only thing I could get in a short-term cash. But anyway, once I got some money, I started getting back into trading, and I read a lot about options trading, which actually, contrary to Notion, is actually a less risky way to trade. If you know how to manage your risks properly and you do your positioning correctly, where you're not overextended in any one position. The position sizing is very important in those trades. So I do a lot of that. Now I do options trading fairly regularly as well, and it's mostly for fun. To me, it's like playing poker. I love playing poker, so it's kind of like placing the bets based on the odds, and then making sure that you only place bets when the odds are in your favor, looking at the probability and things like that. What is nice about stock trading, I will say, is that the odds are actually in your favor if you think about it. I have a lot of friends who are afraid of trading stocks. I'm not even talking about options, trading stocks. But if you look at the graph of the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones, or any other blue chips, for example, when I say a blue chip, I mean the ones that, to me, the blue chip is one that pays dividend and is steadily growing. So like a dividend aristocrat, which, for your listeners, if they're listening, dividend aristocrats are companies that pay dividends, and they are always increasing their dividends every year for the last 25 consecutive years to qualify as a dividend aristocrat. So which means for the last 25 years, regardless of the recession, they've continued to increase their dividends. So if you track companies like that over time, you will grow. It doesn't matter. They eventually are, over any 20-year period, they are worth more than they were. You take out any 20-year period. Now, if your time horizon is 2 years, and when you watch the doomsayers on CNBC and CNN and all of that, obviously, you're going to shy away from the market. So it's actually a fairly easy bet to make. I have a lot of thoughts around that as well, but I do believe that's one of the things that is fun because the odds are in your favor.
Yeah. Hey, Sri, talk to us a little bit more in depth. I don't think this is the first time this actually has come up on our podcast. Just the phrase asset rich, cash poor. Talk to our travelers a little bit about kind of what that means, what that looks like, because it's just not something that we've had discussed yet on our podcast.
So I'm a big fan of investing in real estate. I don't own any real estate anymore. I have my reasons for that because it does take time and energy. And right now I'm 100% focused on my technology startup. So a couple of years ago, I sold all my real estate holdings. So asset rich, cash poor is where you are leveraging your cash to build assets and grow your assets. So I'll give you a great example, just simple math, right? If you buy, let's say you buy a property for $100,000, and obviously this is one of the things with property as well. In the long run, the odds are always in your favor. Now, obviously, you got to be careful about it. You buy in some crappy neighborhood, the property prices can go down, and
Mm-hmm.
property prices in general can also go down over a 3 to 4 year period. But over a 20-year period, again, you're going to
It
be ahead,
always goes up.
right? So you got to think big, long term. People think through short term, in my opinion. Life is long and life is short at the same time. So you got to think about both sides.
I love that concept.
Um, so if you think about, if I were to buy a property, let's say it's worth $100,000, or let's say actually it's worth $500,000, just for argument's sake. I'll make the math easy so that we can talk in millions in a minute. So let's say 500,000, and you are able to buy that property. Now these days, I think you got to put in a 15-20% down. But when I was doing investments in real estate, I could buy a rental property for 5%. But if you were to live in it, you could buy it for 5% down, right? Or 10% down. And so let's say you do that. You buy it for $500,000. You pay 5% down for $500,000 is about $25,000 roughly, right? Yeah. So $25,000 with some fees and whatnot, it would be, let's say it's $35,000. You put that in. So now you're leveraged in $35,000, but you leverage a $500,000 property. Now you live in it for, let's say, 3 to 4 years, and then you move out and you go and buy another property. But we're not going to talk about that. But let's say you go and you save enough money to buy another property. But in that 500,000 is probably hopefully now worth like, let's say 550 or 560 or depending on the market. But an average property will go up anywhere from 3 to 5% over a year, over the long periods of time. So let's say it was an average 5-year period, and you made another $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 on the property. You stay with it. Over a 20 to 30-year period, you could pay that down, right? So now the rent has paid that. If you rented that, the rent will pay that down over a 20 to 30 years. Now you're cash poor because the rent is barely covering mortgage. In some cases, it may not even cover the mortgage, but the property is appreciating. So the 30-year period, what happened? Now you paid out a $500,000 loan with only $35,000 in initial investment, including your closing costs and everything else. In 20 to 30 years, that property is worth $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Roughly, I would say. I mean, most likely it is. It's probably worth $1 million even before that, depending where you buy it. If you buy it in Atlanta, for example, you're probably worth way more than $1 million in 20 to 30 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
So obviously it depends on the market. If you buy it in Flint, Michigan, it may not, right? So you have to kind of pick your cities well. So if you now just think about the math, right? I am cash poor for a few years. Hopefully you have another income, like a job or whatever you're doing, and you're spending maybe hour or two a week managing the property, collecting your rent, fixing stuff, calling the plumber, something broke, whatnot, right? And you basically did a 30x on your investment without really doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right? You just did a 30x on $35,000 to $1 million. Now you're a millionaire. Now, if you did that multiple times, because let's say you save some more money, you buy another property. So by the time let's say you're in your 20s, mid-20s, by the time you are in your 50s, which is not that old, I'm almost 50, so, So,
hey, I'm right behind you.
I know. It's not that old, right? People think 20s, 50s old. It's not. I used to think that too. I know it's not anymore. So you're almost 50s. You could be worth $2 or $3 million, and you're a multimillionaire, quote unquote, without really taking any real risks. You're not actually trying to even be a risk-taking entrepreneur. This is a passive way of leveraging your asset. Now you may be cash poor for a while. That's that discretionary income that you had. You cannot be going on a first-class ticket to Hawaii for a 10-day vacation. Maybe not. Depending on how much you make. But so that's the concept of asset rich, cash poor. Now, in your 50s, now I could potentially sell all those properties, or do whatever I want, and I could technically I could retire at this point if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I love the example. I'm a big avid guy with real estate, and I believe, just like you said, there's other places you could put your money to get that kind of reward. But to me, real estate, it's so, just like you broke it down right there, it's so simple in terms of how you gain your reward. And when you talk about the life lifelong and short at the same time. Somebody will invest in a company and say that I'm going to work for a company until I'm 65 to collect a 401k, a retirement, and all that other stuff. You just broke down to somebody how in 30 years, while you're simultaneously doing that, if you want to just collect that passive income, you can be doing that thing at the same time and actually gain a bigger reward at the end of that 30 year than doing that 9 to 5. No disrespect to the people that's doing the 9 to 5, but I'm just saying that those two models, one is more lucrative than the other. So,
yeah, and they're not mutually exclusive. You could be doing it at the same time.
Together.
Correct. That's what I
Same
said.
time. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And so at the same time, now, can you, I don't know if you want to go into it. I heard you said that you sold all your real estate asset. I don't know if you want to share with us why, or was it just, I know you said your time, but was it to collect the money to invest in something else, or what was the reasoning for that?
Yeah, so at about 5 or 6 years ago, I had about 7 or 8 apartment units, roughly. I stopped investing in units because that's why I'm not a very disciplined investor. Okay, let me just be honest here. Because I started investing in apartments and 2 families and single family homes in my mid 20s, actually late mid 20s, in St. Louis. But I also had a passion for film, so I spent a lot of money making movies.
Yeah.
Not an investment. Totally a money pit, okay? If anybody's listening thinking, oh, I'll make millions making movies, bad idea. Don't do it.
Yeah.
There is no trend that shows that odds are in your favor.
Yeah.
Odds are totally not in your favor. The odds are totally in Hollywood's favor in that game.
Yes.
So, but anyway, I wanted to do that. I just wanted to do both. So I would live up, I invested, and then I stopped investing, started making movies, and then I continued. I stopped for a while. I started again. So anyway, instead of owning 30 apartments, which was my original goal, I ended up with only 7 because I was not a disciplined investor. And then about 5 years ago, roughly, I got divorced. And as part of that, so 2 things happened at the same time. I quit my job, and I did not get a new job. I started a new startup, which means I had no income at all. And I got divorced at the same time. And then obviously, you know how divorce goes. You got to give half your assets, half your whatever. So part of the process was eventually my savings ran out after about a year and a half. And I had to sell my properties to, pay out the other party. So, which was fine because it was also taking up my time because the startup was really consuming my mind share. I don't want to think about properties and think about, dealing with that. And the market was actually pretty strong. The market is stronger now. I wish it was as strong as it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, pre-pandemic. So I sold all my properties because of that, with the payoff, and then have a cash cushion, to be honest, to continue to invest in my startup. Because I do believe my startup is, and I'll talk more about my startup, Engagedly. Yes. We are up to 130 employees. We are a global company. We have 400 plus clients, companies using our software. We just raised Series A in February. So obviously it's like the thing that, that is where my focus is.
Gotcha. Understood.
Thanks for being transparent. Thanks for being transparent with that answer. It really helped us to see what where your train of thought and where you are right now.
Yeah. You talk about just being a creator, someone that's interested in a lot of things. And I forget the exact word, curious. You're curious, right? I love it. And that curiosity leads to that creative nature that I know you have as you start talking about the arts that you started working in filmmaking. Like, how did you get into the filmmaking area, industry, and then also music production? Like, I want to hear music you got going on, man. Like, what?
Like I said, I'm my biggest enemy sometimes, right? I know the math, right? The math says do real estate, do options and dividend aristocrats and do all of that. But then your other brain says, why are you wasting your life with that stuff. Go and have fun. Do something creative, So I have this constant battle in my head. Obviously, I grew up in a very academic family. My parents are very much like study, become a professor type of thing, and then I obviously had a pretty decent job for years. But I think what happened is, I will say that the life-changing moment for me was 9/11. I was in Orlando working on a project. I was with Ernst& Young, I was an employee of Ernst & Young in management consulting. And I was working on a project for Walt Disney World. And towers got hit, and I was stuck in a hotel. Actually, I was in the Walt Disney World Resort working with their technology team on some technology projects that they were working on when we got the news broke during early hours. Well, it was 9 o'clock, right? I believe. Anyway, so we all got sent home. The park shut down. Now I was back in the Marriott, and I had just gotten my green card 3 days ago, 3 days before that, on a Friday. The towers got hit on a Tuesday, right? Which was lucky for me because the green cards and all those processes got shut down too.
Yeah.
So I got it literally 3 days before the towers got hit. And green card meant freedom for me, right? As an entrepreneur, I could not really be an entrepreneur until I had a green card. And it took me 10 years to get there, almost. Well, not 10 years. I'm exaggerating. 6 years. 6 years to get there, right? And to me, that was like freedom. Okay, now I can actually live my creative self and my entrepreneur self at the same time because I'm not bound to an employer anymore. So that was like the moment that I decided that I want to start taking some risks in my life because I felt I had some safety as a green card. I can always go and get a job if nothing else worked out. I was not bound to an employer. So I started writing. I started taking courses in a community college, actually. I went back to community college to take some screenwriting courses in St. Louis and started exploring groups. And that's how I basically got started. There was nobody really making movies, any bigger movies. There were a lot of student films and independent films. And I started just exploring how to put together a group. So I started meeting a lot of people. There were a lot of communities at that time forming through Yahoo groups and other internet. Internet was a great invention in that case. Social media wasn't there at that point. The social media was MySpace at that time.
Yeah, MySpace.
Which was so much better, I guess, than Facebook these days. But anyway, so that's how I got started, man. And I started doing that on the weekends and evenings, and started shooting documentaries and student films with a bunch of different students and young filmmakers. And one thing led to the other. And then my biggest break was in 2006, 2007. I co-wrote and produced a film called Ghost Image, which is on Prime. Even now, you can watch it. I didn't know how to go about producing a film of that size. I think the film cost us about, back in the day, was all shot on 35 millimeter film. I think it cost us about $500,000 or $600,000, which is where I almost went broke in the process.
Say the title. Say the title.
Ghost Image, right?
Ghost Image, yeah. So it had Stacey Dash as one of the leads.
Okay.
And Roma Mafia, who's a pretty good character actor. Elizabeth Rome was the actual lead in the film. She was from Law and Order. So I had some pretty decent actors, in it. It was a very successful film. We got a deal with 20th Century Fox. So my first film with my credit card debt paid off, right? I got lucky, to be honest. That was a total roll of dice. And that led to, making more films in the future. And my last film I did, and I've been doing this on the side. I would take off a month or two from work, and I would go and make a movie and come back to work, right? I would work throughout the year and writing my script and doing all those things. And I'm ready to shoot. I'd take a month off or 2 months off, make the film, and then go back to passive mode where I'm working on the weekends and the weekdays with my editors and other people. I'm leveraging the resources, right? I'm not necessarily doing all the work. I'm actually, my job as a producer or a director is to leverage other talents to do it.
So can you tell us how the business side of that works? That we on our show, we've been trying to get to a lot of people. A lot of people hear you, hey, I made a film, and they automatically, in their head, they're thinking it's on Prime. You had Stacey Dash in there, all these different actors that somebody knows. Oh, you made money. from this thing. You're a millionaire, and now you're riding off into the sunset. How does the business side of that work? If you can break it down for us.
If somebody says they made movies and they made money, show me that person because I want to talk to that person. You know, there's a lot of people who will make movies, and there's a lot of stories, and they're so rare, and they usually exist in, there are obviously a few of them in Atlanta, like Tyler Perry, but those are very few people. For every one Tyler Perry, there's 100 people who didn't make a dime from their film. I mean, literally the odds are 100 to 1, if not worse. That's how bad the odds are in filmmaking. I don't know what the data is now, but when I was making films about 5, 6, 7 years or longer than that ago, I haven't made a film in about 6 years now because my last film after that, like I said, my mind share is all in the startup right now. There were 5,000 feature films being made in the US because the digital world had taken off at that point.
Correct.
There were a lot of these DV cam, mini DV cam, and now obviously it's even more. So the 5,000 is probably more like 7,000 or 8,000, if not more. I don't know the real data right now, so don't quote me on that. Only 350 films. This is pre-pandemic. Only 350 to 400 films actually get released in movie theaters. Right. So think about that odds, right? And every movie that gets in a movie theater doesn't make money. Very few movies in a movie theater make money. Actually, maybe 10% of that, if that, makes money. So your odds of making money from a film really comes down to if you can get a deal in the cable, right? And now people are not even watching cable; they're watching streaming shows. So back in the day, my deal I had deals with Showtime, Cinemax. I had a deal with 20th Century Fox that gave me worldwide cable deals. So I did deals with Sky in Australia and all the other. There were like 65 channels worldwide. I don't even know all of them, but Fox did that deal, right? So I went through Fox, and Fox did all the deal, and Fox could leverage their power to get better payouts from the cables than I can, right? So I got lucky that I got Fox. Even though Fox took a big chunk from that money, I still came out ahead. And those kind of deals are very, very, very rare, very rare. The last film I made was called Bad Grandmas. I directed that film with Pam Grier and Florence Henderson.
What's the name? Bad Grandmas?
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it. It actually was fairly popular. I was surprised how popular it actually was. It was featured on.
Bad Grandma. I remember
So it went pretty big. It was, when I say pretty big, for the scale of work I'm talking about, right? It had Florence Henderson from Brady Bunch, the mother who plays in the Brady Mom.
Yeah.
So it had two fairly big names.
Pam Grier, can't go wrong with her.
Yeah. So anyway, that film, everything told me that film would make money, right? And we didn't make money because it had a good title, it had a good story. I think it was a good film. If you haven't watched it, I obviously would love for you to watch it. It got, within the first 2 weeks of release, it had like 70% or 80% Rotten Tomatoes rating from audience. And even now, the audience rating of that film is pretty good, for an independent film. I think it's in the 50s or 60s, if I remember right. It's better than most films that come out right now. Rotten Tomatoes audience really, has a good way of rating those films. So, but it didn't make any money because there was just nobody who would pay that money, because Netflix funds its own shows, Prime funds its own shows, FX funds their own shows, HBO funds their own shows, and to make money now, you have to be in the know, so you can't be an outside party. You have to be in the business, inside the circle, know somebody to make money in the films, to be honest. So it doesn't matter if your film is good or bad. It just doesn't do anything unless you're connected. Yeah.
So it being on Prime, do you get like a royalty? Does every time somebody watch it, money comes to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there is that. You do get. So there are Prime originals, and then there's Prime, right? So we were not a Prime original. If you're a Prime original, Prime pays you to make the film, and some more. and that's all you get, and you walk away, which is basically like I make a film for $100, I walk away with 120, and like $20 is my profit. I walk away, and then I never get anything after
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
That's it. Unless you have some other rights you could hold. Maybe you could hold international rights and sell the film to like, Australia or, UK or whatever. There are different ways to cut those deals. Or if it's a Prime, any movie can go on Prime, I think, these days, with a certain standard. You can put it on Prime, and then if they pay, you get a cut of that if somebody pays for it, and very few people pay for a movie on Prime these days.
Yeah.
Because so much movie is free now.
Yeah.
Or if it somehow gets into Prime streaming, you get a percentage, you get some dollars based on the number of minutes played and how many streams it's played. It's kind of like the Spotify model,
Okay.
And it's not a lot. I mean, you'll need a ton of plays to make any money on those.
Huge amount of money.
The business models are totally lopsided against the creators.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's what I want you to get out to the people, because a lot of people think, they see somebody with a million views on YouTube. They think that person made $1 million from the million views. They don't understand that YouTube is taking that lion's share, or their business model is not to make you rich off of your views. So,
no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was, so I have music on Spotify, right? So I did a lot of research on, trying to look at data, because I'm just a math guy. So I'm like, okay, I've got my music on Spotify. So my band is called Manchester Underground, for people who want to listen to some.
Manchester Underground, right?
Manchester Underground. That's because my studio's on Manchester Road. It's not because it's something in UK, okay?
Okay, I was wondering.
So it's a rock, progressive rock, psychedelic rock band. Anyway, so I was doing the math. Pardon me?
You play an instrument in the band, or
I play drums.
Okay. Yeah.
I play drums. Yeah. So I was doing the math. So it takes, I think you need about 350,000 streams to make $1,000. 350,000 streams to make $1,000, or something like that. The math was something like that. I'm like, this is ridiculous, right? I mean, how many people can get that? So that's why you see all these musicians basically living from bar to, the money they make is in the bars. Playing live, and there's very little money to be made in so very few people break off. So most of the money for musicians really is in the live acts, which is why the ticket prices are so high. Obviously, there's a ticket master there who's taking the lion's chunk also, which I don't understand how the FTC has not cracked down on them for the kind of usurious practice that they have been undertaking. To be honest, every time I buy a concert ticket, I just want to strangle Ticketmaster.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm surprised. Like, why isn't anybody after them at this point? This is because it's a monopolistic
exactly.
Approach there.
They want. Yeah.
So they you make money from concerts, which you'll get a small portion after Ticketmaster and the concert organizers have taken their money. And then from merch is really literally the only one that you can make a lot of money from, because most of it goes to you. So if you're selling t-shirts and CDs, so if you're buying merch when you go and see a concert or even a small show at a venue, know that merch money, most of it is going to the artist. Literally, more than the bar tab. The bar tab hardly ever goes to anything to the artist. Sometimes the door may get split, the doors may not get split. So to be a successful musician, you have to be constantly on tour and be promoting your merch. Also go to music-friendly venues where they are not taking the lion's share of your payouts. And you got to keep doing that, and hopefully you'll break out, and then you eventually break out to getting that many streams on Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes and whatnot. But if that doesn't happen, which doesn't happen very often, right? If you look at the long tail of the music, I think the top 1% of the musicians get 99% of the revenue.
Yeah.
So it's not a business, man. It's just a passion thing. You get lucky or you may not. But if you should, and my thing is, if you're making movies, it's because you really are passionate about making movies, not because you're in it to make money.
Wow.
You want to make money? Buy real estate.
Wow. I just love that. So we're going to get to your to everything you've been doing, Engagely and everything. But I love that you put us through that journey and you see how much times you went down. And then even in something, there's something that you just wanted to do. And you said the math didn't work out. You knew the math was not going to work out in your favor. But you're like,
passion.
Let me explain, people. A lot of people heard you said the green card meant freedom, and they actually don't understand what you meant. The reason I can tell you, I'm an immigrant myself. When he first came here, you probably came on you most likely came on a student visa.
Yeah.
Once you finish your school, a company had to say, I will keep this guy in the United States of America to work for me. And then once you're there, you have a social security number, but that social security number at the bottom just says for employment only or something like that. It says there on there. And so you can't go and use your social security number like somebody here can just go and say, okay, I want the loan, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, because it said it at the bottom. You could have in that day, it wasn't that tight. But now that you got the green card, all that was in America was available to you. And you're saying, okay, I could use all the different verticals or systems or whatever you want to call it to my advantage in order to pursue what I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
I just wanted the travelers, we call them travelers, to understand why he said the green card meant freedom was that he could use everything that was in America to be used to pursue whatever career you wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think coming from India and coming from any country for that matter gives you a different perspective. People can sit and complain about lack of opportunities here. I'm not getting, and I'm no disrespect, and I'm not getting the right opportunities because of my color or because of my race or because of my language or whatever. I think those are all more easily overcomable than being totally poor with no opportunity, right? To me, there are opportunities to be had if you're willing to take the right risks. I do believe, however, that getting a right mentor is the key in many cases. If you don't have the right mentor or the right mindset, to me, coming from India, my mentors, even though I didn't have one on media, was not LeBron James, right? It was Bill Gates. My mentor was Jeff Bezos back in the day, right? And to me, those are my mentors. And I looked up and I studied and I said, what did they do? How did they get there? Let me try to follow their path. And then I looked at the paths of other immigrants who had moved to US from India and understood what path did they take and studied that, right? So I think if you studied that and you followed that path, you could have success. Obviously, things can go wrong along the way, but I do think you have to really look back and say the fact that you were born or in America, you're already in the top 5% or top 10% of the world, period. You already are starting off on the second or third base, so don't squander it, right? Play that to your advantage and move forward from there. So that's what I would say.
So when you well, actually, before I go to let's talk about the venture you're doing now, right? Yeah. You say, all right, man, I'm going to dive into this tech startup. Talk about what kind of pulled you into the startup, and then kind of what you're building, what you're developing, as much as you can share about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my company is obviously it's on the internet and everybody knows about it. Who can look it up. It's called Engagedly. It's an employee engagement, performance management, and employee development platform. Started this 7 years ago with my partners in India. So we have employees both in the US and in India. And the platform is really meant to improve employee communication, improve employee development through online training, and employee collaboration and overall organizational performance through common goal setting. So you can use it to collaborate and set goals together as an organization. Do your employee reviews, do your check-ins with your manager, and have a social portion in there so you can form communities within the company as well. So that's the platform, what it does, right? And we built it really because we saw an opportunity. This is 7 years ago when employee engagement rates were not very good. In the last 2 years or 3 years, people have really started to pay attention to that, and they're realizing that, hey, we got to pay attention to our employees and make sure that their needs and they're satisfied, and they're in the right place, doing the right jobs, and not overworked. That mindset wasn't there so much 10 years ago. I think now employees have the power because of lack of talent pool, and people are ready to quit. They'll just walk away if they don't like where they work. 7, 8, 10 years ago, I think that was less so, a lot less so. So we saw opportunity, and now our platform is a lot more important than ever before because people are now working remote. They need some sort of a tool to manage employees remotely, collaborate together, feel like one team, even if you're in 5 different cities. So that's where the market opportunity is for us. So right now we have about 130 employees globally. We have clients. Our clients are mostly mid-sized companies. Some of the companies you may have heard of. I don't know if you know, like Brinks Security is one of our clients. So those are some of the companies out there. For example,
we use Brinks actually. We have one of our properties that the Success Journey owns. We actually use Brinks for our security.
Yeah. So anyway, that's an example of some of the bigger and smaller companies we have. But anyway, we have about 30 companies in about 30 countries. Employees are in about 40, 50 different countries from those companies themselves. 400 clients. And we just raised some Series A in February, and we're raring to go. And it's a long journey. It's 7 years in the making, and I still feel like a startup. I got another 7 years probably before it's a real thing.
Man, how do you keep the fire going, Sri? From what I'm reading from you and just hearing from your journey, you're excited about the things that you're excited about, you're passionate about, you get into it, and you don't just dabble in it, right? People say, oh yeah, you're dabbling filmmaking. I want to make a film, and dabbling in some music because I'm passionate about it. But no, you're getting stuff on Amazon Prime, right? You're getting things on Spotify. You have your band. You have all this stuff. You have this technology company startup. I know a lot of people that have startups, but not having as many clients that you already have, right? And still consider it a startup, right? What keeps you driving and keeps that engine running for you as you continue to develop and find new things to build on?
I think it's there's actually an incident that really gave me a wake-up call. So when I was doing an internship during my master's, I was doing an internship for Cummins Engine Company in their finance department, and I was interviewing for a job for the Cummins Engine, which is based in Bloomington, Indiana, I think, in their finance department. And I really wanted that job. That was my dream job at the time. I wanted to work for the finance department of any company for that matter. But Cummins, was a fairly reputable company, and it was in their M&A department, I believe. So I was very, excited about that. And one of the things in the interview that I flunked somehow. I didn't get the job, right? And then but I was an intern already, so I found out through my sources and why I didn't get that job over there in the other place in Bloomington. And she said the message that was relayed to me is that I got a sense that this person has, when they ask you what your strengths and weaknesses and whatnot, somehow in that process it came out that I had this weakness that sometimes I'll get excited and start new things and don't finish it. And that stuck with me. I'm like, I said, that is a weakness. And I realized that self-awareness, I guess, is one way to look at it. I was aware of that because I get excited about a lot of new things because my brain is going in 5 different directions. Like I get excited about making, films. One year I was excited about opening a restaurant. So I have all these ideas all the time, right? And then, but that message stuck with me. I was 22 or 23 years old at the time. And I was like, that is one thing I'm going to focus on is if I'm going to start something, unless it's a really bad idea, I'm going to finish it. And finishing doesn't mean you just finish it and walk away. Finishing means taking it to the finish line and across the goalpost. And that's finishing to me. So that alone, that mindset alone, I believe, is what you need to be successful. It's just, don't just start it and let it be, because you have a bad day. Maybe you had a fight with your spouse or your friends or whatever happened, and you don't want to do anything that day. But that's fine. You can take a day off. Everybody deserves a day off here and there. But then remember, in your time horizon is long, right? You have to keep moving towards the goal. Are you making progress? Are you making progress? And then check back, are you making progress? And that's, to me, that's the key. I'm not that much of a high IQ compared to a lot of people around me, to be honest. I never scored super high on IQ tests. I don't necessarily have any special talents. My math wasn't that great. I'm definitely not, great looking either. I don't have a great communication capabilities compared to a normal person. I think what I do have is this ability to keep pounding, keep pounding and keep pounding. Because the human body and the human mind can achieve great things if you keep at it. Consistency, perseverance. To me, those are true assets rather than high IQ or great looks or whatever other assets there are. Persistence will beat talent.
Yeah, we call that diligence.
We have our 4 Ds that we have.
Yeah.
Dream, drive, discipline, and diligence. We do not talk about handsome. We do not talk about good look. We talk about dream, drive, discipline, and diligence. And we call that our quad Ds. And if you apply that anywhere in your life, we feel that will bring you across that finish line or close to that finish line as possible.
Yeah.
Rick, I'm happy that you asked that question, man. It shows that there's something about you that doesn't keep you down. And a true entrepreneur, that's a true entrepreneur spirit. Most of all the entrepreneurs we've talked to on this podcast, that's one thing that we see. They'll tell you that, I was in debt, same thing, $100,000 in credit card debt, but I knew, hey, all I had to do was grind 2 years at a job and I'll be able to pay it off. And then I did that, then I got back to what I had to do. My idea didn't work, but I jumped onto this one and then I started this one. It's just that relentless. You can't keep them down. You punch them, they won't stay down. And you have to get either they give up or you give up, and they're not going to give up. Now, I hear you say startup 7 years, and I know your time is money. Because this is for our listeners, some people think that they're going to do a startup for 1 year and they're going to be a full-blown company and whatever. What takes you from a startup to the next step after 7 years, and you still have 400 clients, you have 130 different employees?
Yeah. So the reason I call myself a startup, and I believe the definition of a startup to me means this: you are not the incumbent. You're growing faster than the market in your industry, and you're relentlessly focused on innovation and growth, right? And to me, that's a startup, right? So if you were to look at the definition, Google is not a startup anymore because they are the incumbent. Airbnb is not a startup anymore. They're the incumbent. So if you start something in their space, you are a startup until you become the Airbnb of the space, or at least one of the people.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the definition of a startup. So I could be a startup for the next 15 years by that mindset, and it's a mindset thing, So that to me is why I believe, because the incumbent in my space is probably in Oracle and SAP or any of those bigger ones. And until I become the incumbent, I will have a startup mentality, that I need to grow faster than the market, the overall market, and I need to continue to out-innovate and outgrow until I can become the incumbent.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Right.
So, we say this with all of our guests. We can talk a lot because most of our guests we bring on are so dynamic, and it's hard to really crunch all the life lessons and all the experiences down into that 45-minute time frame that we have with you. But Man, I'm just really inspired by your story of one, you're very similar to Marlon and myself in the sense of having that creative nature, thinking about different ideas, executing on different ideas, exploring different things, not seeing that limitation. You know, if I think about I can do it, I can do it, right? If I think I can do it,
Yes.
I can make it happen, right? And I love that. What would you share with your younger self? Let's say your younger self that just stepped foot in America,
Yeah.
and knowing what you know now, and you had 60 seconds or 1 minute to speak to him, what would you say to him?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't really have any regrets, to be honest. I mean, there are things I could have done differently. That's true. I would say don't be impatient. I was very impatient. I wanted to be the youngest manager at FedEx, for example, the youngest partner at EY, Ernst Young, or something like that, right? I had all those dreams of being the youngest, youngest, youngest. But then you realize life is long, take your time, stay focused, and you don't, because when you rush into things, you make mistakes and you don't necessarily learn. It's like speed reading. Um, if you can speed, you can learn it. Anybody can learn how to speed read. There are courses online and you can practice. And I can read fairly fast. But the fact that you can speed read a book in 4 hours or 3 hours and finish the book, you finished the book, but did you really learn and get all the messages out of it or not? And I think to me, I stopped speed reading. I actually read book very deliberately now. I'll sometimes read 4 or 5 or 6 pages and I'll put the book down and think about it. Um, so I think I would say be patient, be deliberate um, about what you do. You uh, Warren Buffett actually said this. I wish I had heard about this when I was my younger. That you only make about 15 to 20 key decisions in your entire life, right? I think it was
Mm,
20
Mm.
decisions if I remember right. Like marrying your spouse, picking
yeah.
your spouse, picking that first job, deciding where to go to college, and what major you're going to pick in the college. There are only 20 such decisions you'll make. Just
Mm,
know what those are and if you get those right, everything else falls into place.
Wow.
mm. I never even
Yeah.
thought of it that. Wow.
Yeah. I like that.
Wow.
I like
Sri,
that.
thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom. If people want to reach out to you, follow what you're doing, learn more information about your company, hear some of your music, watch some of your movies, whatever it is, like you have one-stop shop, right? And you say you open up a restaurant, you probably do some cooking on the side and everything, whatever it is, man. Feed you, entertain you, and then educate you.
Educate you.
All right, right?
Thank you.
Where can they find more information about you?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Sri Chellappa, Srikant is my first full name, Chellappa. And my company is Engagedly, Engagedly.com. My music and film production company is called Kalinga Productions Studios, kalingaproductions.com. And yeah, so there's like 6 or 7 movies we've made. We own a recording studio in St. Louis, where we record all types of genre, from hip hop to rock and roll to country. Pretty much focused on local artists in St. Louis region. And my band that I play in is called Manchester Underground, which is on Spotify and Apple Music as well. So
Love it. Man, listen, I got to ask one other question. You ready to ask something, Marla? Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I got one more question.
Yeah, I had for the people that's in the hip hop, have you had any of those guys come to your studios that produced out of your studios? But I know Memphis, they have a growing hip hop community that's coming out there.
well, I'm in St. Louis, so
St. Louis,
not
sorry.
really.
St. Louis. Sorry.
The only person I work with in the studio is the producer for Nelly. Although
Nelly, okay, yeah.
Nelly has his own studio, but we are collaborating on some projects together. He's a 2-time Grammy nominee,
Yeah.
so we are collaborating on some projects together. But there are hip hop artists and some big gospel artists in St. Louis that I was not aware of that are recording in a studio. But to be honest, I don't know their names because there are multiple engineers who work in the studio, and they bring their own people. And I just heard in passing that this engineer part is gospel artist and this engineer part is country artist. But I'm not good at remembering those names, to be honest. So, but I'll find out and let you know. Okay.
Man, one last question I had: how many hours of sleep do you get?
I wish I got more, and it's not because of overworking. To be honest, I actually try not to work too many hours. I really don't. I try to. My day usually starts at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm the notorious 5 a.m. guy. Try to get in a little bit of workout, and then start my day at 6, and pretty much by 3:30 I'm done. I'm done. After that, you can think about music as work, but to me it's the passion, right? So then I'll go to my studio. Sometimes I'll play music or just hang out with the studio engineer or the musicians who are recording, and then chit chat and hang out and do that. And then I try to get about 7 hours of sleep. Yeah. But most days I'm not successful, and I think it's because I'm not going to bed soon enough. I'm staying up till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and I really need to
still going, huh?
Yeah, it's because I really want to watch one more episode of that show, I'm that guy too. So.
Love it. Man, Sri, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the insight. It's been a wonderful time. And all of our travelers and listeners all around the world, we want to thank you for tuning in to another episode here with us today. We will see you guys next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
One love.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.